From the basement of La Penta, it's WICR.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here, and rarely do you find yourself outraged in the world of sports. I think a lot really has to happen for you to be outraged. You can be upset, you can be other emotions, but being outraged I think takes a lot. But in the case of Kurt Warner still not being in the Hall of Fame, I would go as far as to use the word outrage. Now, I thought first ballot last year, it was absolutely he should have been there. And when he wasn't, I thought it was still a mistake, but year two, you can live with that. But now that it has been year two and Kurt Warner has still not been inducted, I really just don't understand it one bit. Kurt Warner is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to win this game, to play this game. And we go back to Peyton Manning a little bit yesterday because he was always the focal point of everything we were talking about. It is so extremely difficult to lead two different organizations to the Super Bowl. Peyton's the only one ever to win it with two, but Kurt Warner took the Rams to the Super Bowl twice and took the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl. I cannot stress how extraordinarily difficult it is just to take a team to the Super Bowl. He did it with two different organizations. He did it 3 total times. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves if that's your kind of thing. You look at the Super Bowl when it matters the most. His numbers in those times are just incredible. He owns the 3 highest single-game passing yardage totals in Super Bowl history. Over the course of his career, he had 208 touchdowns, 32,344 yards, and a 93.7 career rating, and he won 2 NFL MVPs on top of that. If that right there with a Lombardi trophy isn't enough to make him a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't know what else was. He was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He did not get on in the second try. I mean, it's really, really, to me, ridiculous. I mean, we'll kind of look at the people who have got in. Brett Favre, obviously first ballot, unquestionable. You can't do anything about that. Tony Dungy, no problems there. But when you're putting in Kevin Green and you're putting in Orlando Pace over Kurt Warner, it becomes a little bit of a joke. Again, I have no problem with Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison, a tremendous player. Eddie DeBartolo Jr., Ken Stabler, not a problem. But when you're putting in Orlando Pace and Kevin Green over Kurt Warner, I mean, come on. We all understand in professional sports, there's not a harder position to play than quarterback. Every single thing revolves around you. And I think a lot of what the NFL has become today in terms of offense, even in the college game, can be credited to Kurt Warner's Rams, the greatest show on turf, the speed that they played with, the offense. I mean, that was really kind of the first high purpose, high velocity, high speed offense that really has set the mark for what the Oregons have done in college football and what the up-tempo offenses have done in the NFL. The Rams really were historic in that approach, and it doesn't mean anything if you don't have a quarterback who's running the show. Running the greatest show on turf was Kurt Warner, a Super Bowl. He led them to 2 of them. He walked away with 1 of them. He has the highest passing games in Super Bowl history. All of those things, I think, really culminate and just say this guy is a surefire, should be in there as we speak Hall of Famer. And again, it still really bothers me that he's not there because, again, we'll try to. I got another segment prepared about Peyton Manning, and if you want to try to make the argument that he's the greatest of all time, it's a difficult argument to make, but it can be made because people forget a lot of times, a lot of these great quarterbacks who've won multiple rings have had the same guys around them the entire time. They've had one coach. I mean, Terry Bradshaw had one coach his entire time. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, the 2 of them were paired together the entire time. Walsh and Montana, it is the same story over and over again for guys like Peyton Manning, for guys like Kurt Warner. It's different. They've had to make adjustments. They've had to learn to be around other people and learn how to adapt to different schemes and to learn to adapt to people around them. And that is so difficult to do in sports. We see so many times that you're there and you have your system built. The coach and the player have the continuity built for so long of a period of time, but Kurt Warner, Peyton Manning haven't always had that same luxury, and they still have been able to bring their team to the biggest stage imaginable in spite of it. And I think those kind of concepts right there really just show why these guys are so special. And to me, again, it still boggles the mind how Kurt Warner has not been inducted into the Hall of Fame during his second attempt. I mean, if he has to get in on his third. I don't think that there's any question he will be in on his third attempt, but I mean, just the mere fact that it has taken 3 attempts really just, I mean, you should look at the ballot and just kind of see Kurt Warner's name and then say, something's not sitting right here. I mean, something is just not right. The fact that Kurt Warner has not been there. The numbers speak about what kind of quarterback he was. His accomplishments, 2 NFL MVP awards, a Super Bowl title. He really did it all. He was able to bring 2 different franchises to the Super Bowl. Again, he made adjustments with different players. He made adjustments to the game, which I think is even more impressive. I mean, you look at the timeline for Kurt Warner. He won a Super Bowl early when the 90s were closing down. He got to another Super Bowl in the early 2000s. And then in the late 2000s, when the game really started to kind of change into more of an offensive-oriented league, he once again was able to make the adjustments and brought the Arizona Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Now, coming up short to me does not mean really a failure in when you're looking at the whole total package, because just getting there is so difficult. The wins, the losses, they come and they go in this league. Good teams win Super Bowls. It doesn't come down to one player. Kurt Warner played a phenomenal game in that Super Bowl. There were some plays he still could have made, but, with the Arizona Cardinals, he still put up a heck of a fight, and really, that game came down to an incredible play by Santonio Holmes. It was really one of the better Super Bowls we've had in recent memory, but, Kurt Warner has been the man who's been able to make the adjustments, and the Hall of Fame has not called his name yet, which I still, again, I've said it many times, it bothers me, it really does. He should be there. Anybody who's watched the game close enough knows he deserves to be there, but I think on the third attempt, when we're here this time next year, his name will be on the list, and we'll be able to talk about him for different reasons. But until that happens, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram, Jersey_Joe_Archino, and we'll see you folks next time.